When my abusers kicked me out, they told me I'd be nothing. They said it with this chilling certainty, like they were stating a fact of nature. "You will never amount to anything," were the exact words. 15 years later, I bought this house. All brick, 3 bedrooms, with a little garden out front that I planted myself. And last week they came back. They stood right there on my porch, not to apologize, not to see how I was doing, but to demand I give my house to them. They honestly expected to find the same scared, broken kid they threw away all those years ago. They weren't ready for the homeowner who answered the door, to really understand how we got to that unbelievable moment. The sheer audacity of it all. We have to go back to the night my life fell apart, and a new, terrifying one began. I was 17, not a kid, but definitely not an adult. I was in that fragile space where you're starting to see the world, but you still desperately need a safe place to land. My home was never that. It was a place of constant, quiet tension, an emotional minefield. The abuse wasn't always yelling. A lot of the time, it was this slow, quiet chipping away at who I was. The constant criticism, the eye rolls when I had an opinion, the heavy sighs when I walked into a room. They were experts at making a person feel small and fundamentally flawed. The main thing they drilled into me was that I was destined to fail. Any dream I had was shot down. Any win I had was minimized. "Oh, you got an A. The test must have been easy. You want to go to college for that asterisk. There's no money in it." It felt like a campaign to kill any spark of ambition I had. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, if you tell a kid they're worthless enough times, they start to believe it, and for a long time, I really did. I walked around feeling like an imposter in my own life. The night it all blew up wasn't some big, movie-style fight. It was just the final cut after 1,000 smaller ones. It started over something stupid, a disagreement about chores, but their reaction wasn't stupid at all. It was cold and final. The argument escalated, but the words were different this time. It wasn't just, "You're lazy," or "You're ungrateful." This time it was, "We're done." I remember my mother standing by the door, arms crossed, her face totally blank. My father stood behind her, a silent shadow of agreement. "You think you're so smart," she said, her voice completely flat. "Go on then. Go be an adult. But don't come crawling back when you realize you'll never amount to anything." That phrase again, their favorite curse. The finality in her voice was terrifying. There was no room to argue, no chance to apologize. I wasn't their kid in that moment. I was just a problem they were getting rid of. They packed a single black trash bag with a few clothes, my toothbrush and my school books. They handed it to me, opened the door, and watched me step out into the cold. The click of the lock behind me was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. I just stood there on the porch with that flimsy bag in my hand. Completely alone. I was 17, homeless, and all I had was the bone-deep certainty they'd given me, that my life was already over. The first few nights are a blur of cold and fear. I slept on a park bench, clutching that bag, jumping at every noise. I learned how to be invisible. I finished my last year of high school by couch surfing, bouncing between the homes of a few kind friends, whose parents didn't ask too many questions. I was living in the margins, fueled by cheap coffee and the constant fear of overstaying my welcome. And I carried their words everywhere. "You'll never amount to anything." It was a curse, but it also became the fuel that would eventually save my life. Surviving isn't the same as living. For the first few years, I was only surviving. After I graduated high school, they didn't come. I was officially on my own. The world, which had always seemed scary, was now my reality, and it was brutal. I worked a string of dead-end jobs, sometimes 2 or 3 at once. Dishwasher, late-night grocery stocker, gas station cashier. My life revolved around bus schedules and hourly wages. I lived in a tiny room I rented, with a window that looked out at a brick wall. It was lonely and exhausting. So many times I almost gave up. So many nights I'd lie awake, feeling the weight of their words pressing down on me. Maybe they were right. Maybe this was it for me. I'd see people my age going to college, falling in love, building lives, while I was just trying to survive until the next payday. The despair was a physical thing, a heavy blanket trying to suffocate me. But then something started to shift. It wasn't one big moment, just a slow realization. I was just so tired of being the victim in their story. I was tired of letting their words define me. One day, scrubbing a burnt pan in a restaurant kitchen, I saw my reflection in the steel. I looked tired and thin, but I saw a flicker of defiance in my eyes. I decided right there that I refused to let them win. Their prediction would not be my destiny. That decision lit a fire in me. I enrolled in community college, taking night classes after my shifts. I studied practical things, business, accounting. I learned about budgeting, saving, investing. For the first time, I felt like I was actually building something. It was grueling. I'd finish a 10-hour shift, grab a coffee, and go straight to the library to study until it closed. I was powered by spite and a desperate need for a different life. Slowly, things started to get better. I got a better job as a bookkeeper's assistant. It wasn't glamorous, but it was an office job with regular hours and better pay. I moved out of that tiny room and into a small, clean apartment of my own. It was the first space that was truly mine since I was 17. I remember just sitting on the floor of that empty apartment and crying. Tears of relief, exhaustion, and pride. It was around then that the dream of owning a home started to take shape. A home was the ultimate symbol of everything they said I'd never have. Stability, security, permanence. It felt impossible. But the scared kid who believed in impossible was long gone. I was becoming a planner. So I made a plan. I figured out how much I'd need for a down payment. The number was terrifying, but I broke it down into smaller goals. I became obsessively frugal. No more eating out. No more subscriptions. I took every overtime shift I could get. Every single dollar had a job. My social life vanished, but I didn't care. I was on a mission. Watching that down payment fund grow, dollar by dollar, made me feel stronger. Getting approved for a mortgage was nerve-wracking. I was sure they'd see my past, my lack of family, my years of low-wage jobs, and just laugh. When the loan officer called to tell me I was approved, I made her repeat it 3 times. The feeling was incredible. It was like breaking the surface after being held underwater for a decade. Finding the house was its own journey. I looked at dozens, but the moment I walked into this one, I just knew it felt solid, safe, it felt like home. Signing the closing papers was surreal. My hand was shaking. Then the lawyer slid a set of keys across the table. They were heavy, they were real. I did it. The kid who would never amount to anything was a homeowner. Walking through my front door for the first time was a sacred moment. I walked through every empty room, just running my hands along the walls. This was mine. I had built this, not with my hands, but with 15 years of relentless work. I had rewritten my own story. I thought the final chapter would be peace. I was wrong. For 6 months it was peaceful. I spent weekends painting, planting my garden, and just enjoying my safe space. I finally knew what security felt like. That feeling was shattered last Tuesday. It was a sunny afternoon. I was making tea when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole, and my blood ran cold. It was them. My mother and my father. Older, grayer, but it was them. For a split second, I was 17 again, on the wrong side of a locked door. My heart was pounding. I thought about just hiding until they left. But then that old defiance flared up. Asterisk, this is my house. I don't hide in my house. Asterisk, I took a deep breath, straightened my shoulders, and opened the door. They looked shocked. I'm sure they pictured me in some rundown apartment, not on the porch of a nice house in the suburbs. My mother recovered first, putting on that tight smile that never reached her eyes. Well, look at you, she said, her voice dripping with fake surprise. We were in the neighborhood and thought we'd stop by. What do you want? I asked. I didn't move. I didn't invite them in. My father finally spoke up. Aren't you going to invite us in? It's been a long time. It has, I said, for a reason. The fake smiles vanished. We know you bought this house. My mother said, getting straight to it. Your cousin told us. It's bigger than we expected. It's a nice house, I said flatly. And then she said it. The line that still feels like it's from some twisted, terrible play. Your father and I have been talking. She started, we're getting older. The stairs in our place are getting to be too much. And your brother Jason's family is growing. They need more space. I just stared, waiting for the punchline that never came. So, she continued, we've decided it's for the best. You can sign the house over to us. We'll move in here and Jason's family can have our old place. It's the perfect solution. I was so stunned I couldn't even form words. This had to be a joke, a sick, cruel joke, but they were dead serious. They were actually waiting for me to agree. You want my house? I finally choked out. Don't be dramatic, my father grumbled. It makes sense, we're family. Family helps family, you're single. You don't need all this room, we do. The sheer, breathtaking entitlement of it. The same people who threw me out with a trash bag were demanding I hand over my entire life's work like I owed it to them. In that moment, all the fear and pain just burned away. All that was left was a cold, hard calm. I looked my mother right in the eye. No. The word just hung there, so quiet, but it was the most powerful word I'd ever said. Her face twisted. What did you just say? I said no, I repeated, my voice stronger now. This is asterisk my asterisk house. I bought it. With my money, from the jobs I worked after you kicked me out. The house is not yours. It will never be yours. You are not moving in. This discussion is over. They looked at me like I had grown a second head. The thought that I would actually refuse them was something they just couldn't compute. After everything we did for you, my father sputtered. I almost laughed out loud. Everything you did for me. You told me I would be nothing. You threw me away. I'm not who I am because of you. I'm who I am asterisk in spite asterisk of you. I built this life and this home with zero help from you. You have no claim on it. You have no claim on me. My mother tried to play the victim, her eyes welling up with fake tears. How can you be so selfish? We're your parents, we need this. My duty, I said, my voice finally rising with 15 years of anger. My duty was to survive, and I did. Now my duty is to myself, to protect what I've built. You are not welcome in this house. You are not welcome in my life. You need to leave, now. I pointed to the street. Their shock turned to rage. They started yelling, ungrateful, selfish, a disgrace, the same old words. But they didn't cut me anymore. They were just noise. When they finally ran out of insults, I gave them one last look. I meant it. Leave. If you ever come back, I will call the police. Then I did something I had dreamed of for 15 years. I stepped back inside, and I closed the door right in their faces. I locked the deadbolt. I leaned against the door, my heart still racing, but this time, with triumph, I had faced them, not as a scared kid, but as an adult who knew her own worth. I protected my home. I protected myself. The silence on my side of that door was the most profound peace I have ever felt. In that moment, I was finally, truly free. They didn't just want my house. They wanted power over me. They wanted to prove that my success was still something they could control, and I refused. My story isn't just about going from homeless to homeowner. It's about taking the story someone else wrote for you, a story of failure, and burning it to the ground. It's about writing your own story and building a life so strong that, when the ghosts from your past come knocking, you can simply and quietly close the door. Thank you for listening. If you've ever had to fight for your own success against the odds or set a hard boundary with family, I'd be honored to hear your story in the comments. Sharing these stories is how we take our power back. Remember to subscribe for more content about overcoming adversity and building the life you deserve. You are worthy of peace, and you are worthy of the life you build for yourself.